Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.
Well, if I could not mess this up with this. All right. What's up, everyone? It's Monday. It's June 13th. And since I don't know, have you ever heard how people always say, oh, Friday the 13th is the worst day of the week?
Yeah.
I feel like they're wrong. Monday the 13th has got to be like the worst day because it's a Monday, it's a 13th. Ain't nobody want to be here on a Monday the 13th.
Nah.
Nobody wants that.
Nah.
But Sensei, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. My birthday is actually in a week, so I'm really excited about that. Next Tuesday.
So for everybody that's watching, Sensei's officially turning 25. That's what we all agreed upon. Everybody turns 25 because you can still rent a car, you can still have a good time, you ain't got to worry about no age restrictions. 25, you're a grown adult, you can do whatever you want to do.
That's right. I am turning 25 again, and I am so excited. Totally looking forward to it.
Exactly. All right, so we got a little bit to cover. You know, the sports world for the most part is big quiet unless you're a big hockey fan or big baseball fan, in which case, you know, baseball is kind of coming towards the end of its season. Hockey, now we're in the NHL finals for the Stanley Cup. But obviously the big thing that is more of Sensei's and I's specialty, we're going to talk about the NBA finals and the fact that Steph did what Steph does best. Steph went off this last game with 43 points. And, you know, again, it's going to be one of those, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit. It's going to be hard, even if the Warriors lose, to not give Steph the MVP because really looking at it, Steph's been the only consistent player out of both teams that I feel is even worthy of being called an MVP when it comes to this series because Draymond's been gone, Jason Tatum's been absent, Klay isn't himself. So really, Steph is kind of like the default guy at this point, and it's going to show. But Sensei, you know, what's your take on this last game, especially considering, you know, the Warriors did what Boston did. They split it in Boston.
I think this was a legacy game for Steph. I don't know if he meant it to be that way, but I think it turned into that just because this was like the first game that we saw Steph pretty much say, all right, like I'm gonna put the team on my back, but we're like, come with me, guys. We're going to the promised land, basically. And that was just amazing to see, and it just kind of puts in perspective just how insanely talented this man is and how great he is, honestly. And the fact that a lot of people have been trying to discredit his legacy, I think that's one of those games where it's just like you can't argue with that. Like that kind of game right there with the stakes being as high as they are, because if the Warriors go down 3-1, it's looking different. You know what I'm saying? And this is also, you know, a Steph Curry that doesn't have, like you said, Klay Thompson in full strength. Draymond hasn't been playing the greatest. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of been the guy, you know, pretty much throughout these 4 games. So, incredible game by him. I think I know normally they don't get we don't know what's going to happen, obviously, but win, lose, or draw, I think Steph should be Finals MVP because, like you said, he's been the most consistent and he's played out of his mind in all 4 of these games. So, just thoroughly impressed by him. Honestly, I can't believe I'm giving Steph Curry this much credit, but I mean, you can't take it away from him. I mean, it's well earned. You know, that guy, he's put in a lot of work and, you know, had to come over a lot of setbacks in the earliest parts of his career. And to see where he's progressed to now, and just the way he is pretty much the Bay. Like, you can't go honestly from the Bay down to Sacramento. You can't go anywhere without seeing somebody with a Steph Curry jersey or shirt, or you know what I'm saying. Like, it's Steph Curry mania out here. But yeah, it was definitely a legacy game for Steph, and he definitely showed up, and he hushed up a lot of critics for sure.
Oh, definitely, and I think it says a lot to Steph too, because if we look back at the last couple of years when the Warriors really were just injured, they were down and out. You know, Clay gets injured in the finals against the Raptors. Then he starts to come back. He gets hurt again. He's out again for another season. Then he comes back, and really the only consistent piece on that team the entire time was Steph, and we really saw Steph continue to ball out even more, as it was just him as really the main star. So, it says a lot to Steph, because you think he could have left 2 years ago. Like, after that Raptors series, and then Clay gets hurt again, Steph could have easily been like, "Hey, look, I got
this is too much." Yeah,
I got 3 with y'all. Like, this is a lot just for me to do. I want out. I want to get another ring. I want to go to another organization. Thank y'all for everything. Much love. But the fact that Steph didn't, what's that kind of say about his character? Because I mean, anybody else could have left, but Steph is like, no, this is the team. This is who I'm with. This is kind of the homegrown talent type thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely. And like I said, I moved to California the year after they won the first one. So I was here 2016, the greatest finals of all time, by the way. But I was here the 2016 finals, and even just like I said, leading up to that series, like, it was like Warriors everywhere. Like, you would swear Sacramento doesn't even have a basketball team, the way that there's so many Warrior fans here. But again, like you said, homegrown. Like, he went through the stages of when they weren't good at all, and he went through the stages of when he was on the trading block every couple of months. Like, a lot of people forget that. Like, they were going to trade Steph really early in his career, and it was either him or Monte Ellis, and a lot of people were very upset when they got rid of Monte Ellis over Steph. But to have that, to go to weather that storm, and then get to the playoffs and burn out in those early rounds, and have all the ankle issues, and then for them to finally break through and win one, and then go 73-9 the following year and have a chance to win another one, and then win 2 more after. Like, that's why I always say, like, Steph, the Warriors, or I should say the Bay Area, is always going to be a Steph Curry town. Like, it doesn't matter if football, baseball, it doesn't matter what team comes through there. It's going to be Steph. Steph is a god in the Bay. Like, you can't turn a corner without seeing him, or saying something of his likeness in the Bay Area. So I mean, he's a god out here, and that's why the whole KD thing really just, I don't know, like, and I hate to even bring him up, but like, that's why it really didn't make any sense for him to come to Golden State to seek validation. You can't seek validation when you got a guy like Steph Curry already. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's you were never gonna overstep that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and I think that's what was funny when it was like, KD said that he never really felt accepted by Golden State. It's like, yeah, you didn't start there. Like, Draymond has been there the entire time. Steph has been there. Clay, it's like, you came into this organization from Oklahoma City. You had a ton of Oklahoma City Thunder fans basically like, you sold your soul, because you're like, if I can't beat them, I'll join them, which, in KD's way, it's like, well, I wanted to win a ring. This is the best opportunity for me to win a ring, and it ended up paying off for him twice. So, yeah, I don't really know why KD did that. It's like, yeah, you can seek some validation. Really, you were seeking the ring, which again,
which is fine.
Like, I don't think anybody, people are still going to give you crap regardless, but at least a little bit more of her. Like, no, I didn't get a ring. That's all I want.
And that's fine, because like you said, that's fine. That's understandable. But to say that you went there to get validated, it's like, come on, bro. Like, you weren't ever gonna get that over Steph Curry. Like, you are great. Granted, you were the best player on that team, but to these fans, quote unquote, like, they've, like you said, they've grown with Steph Curry. He came in a child, little boy. Like, he looked like he was about 12 years old.
little boy out of a no-name college, basically,
no-name
and come to
college,
find out.
Listen, and man, and a hidden gem. Same with Clay, another hidden gem. Who would have thought like they would have lucked up literally on two of the best shooters we've ever seen, and then you got an intangible guy like Draymond that just fits that system. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and the fact that you had a coach in Steve Kerr that made it all work, because we've seen it. On paper, it's like
I'm not gonna give Kerr that credit. Mike Jackson is the foundation of that team.
Well, yeah. But you kind of got to say too a little bit, because we've seen sometimes it's not necessarily the coach. Like if you look at that Cavaliers team with like Bron and Kyrie and Love, that was not Ty Lue. None of that was Ty Lue. we all know that was LeBron James and the supporting cast around him. Like we all know that ain't Ty. And kind of like you said, I can't give all of it to Steve Kerr, but the fact that they still managed to all make it work, because very easily all three of these dudes could go to separate teams and they would be number ones. They would be the main person, and they decided, no, we don't want to do that. We want to stick to where we're at and do what we're good at and do what we're good to do.
And good on them for doing that. Good on them, because
exactly
they've created carved out quite the legacy for themselves, for sure.
Right. So speaking of Steph, and like we mentioned, the fact that really nobody on either side, with the exception of Steph, has really stepped up and shown that they're the guy in this series. Is it kind of a, I don't even want to say it's a slap on Boston. Do you think it's just you think it's just underachievement at the fact that nobody on the Boston team, you could really make an argument of, oh, well, he's the guy, even though I feel like the finals MVP is kind of like the Super Bowl MVP. Even if the losing team has a better overall player, the chances of them getting it is like 1%, because you're always going to have that, well, wait, why did he get it even though he lost type thing. And, I feel like this would be the true epitome of it. It's not based on who wins or who loses. It's who is truly the MVP of the finals, win or lose. And right now, to me, it should be Steph. Do you think the same thing, or do you think it's one of those, if Jason Tatum, stepped up a little bit, if he, got his confidence, he could potentially make an argument for that, especially in these last, we know we're going to a Game 7 for sure.
Yeah. I kind of have a catch-22 with this, because you definitely could argue that Steph should be the MVP, like win, lose, or draw. I know I've done that in my previous argument, but now that I think about it, if we're gonna give Steph a Finals MVP for losing in the finals, then that's if he does lose in the finals. That's a big if, obviously. Then we owe Bron a couple too. Then if that's
right. Bron, and that's been a big argument a lot of times, is that Bron got cheated out of a few, NBA and even Finals MVP. It's like Bron got kind of cheated out of a few of those.
Yeah, I had to think about that for a second, because I was like, wait a minute, like you said, the likelihood of somebody getting Finals MVP, even when they lose, is like a slim to none. But then it's like I think back of all the players who've lost in the finals and who've bought out, who've had incredible finals, and you know what I'm saying, they didn't get the Finals MVP. So I think Steph has to win. They have to win the finals in order for him to get the Finals MVP for sure. But yeah, like I said, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, kind of like Joe said, it should be most outstanding player. Value is such a hard thing to quantify.
I agree, Joe. Yeah, I definitely agree, because it's one of those things. Is like, what do we classify as valuable? Like, is it valuable that shows up on the stat sheet? Is it valuable that does the intangibles? Does the utility things? Is it valuable in the sense of being a leader? Is it, what I'm saying? Like, what exactly is the criteria that we're saying value? Because it can't be just scoring a bunch of points, because like I said, if that's the case, then there's a lot of people that lost in the finals that should have Finals MVPs. Yeah. It can't be, they average a triple-double, or they led both teams in all statistical categories. Because, like I said, if that's the case, then we owe Bron at least three. Like Bron owed at least three more Finals MVPs. If that is the criteria, so it's like, do we have an outlining of what exactly we mean when we say most valuable? What is the value? What does that pertain to? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's one of those, how they always mention the intangibles of people,
Yeah.
Even though Draymond loves to talk smack, so does KD. But again, he can back it up on the court whenever he wants to. And again, they've kind of talked about how Draymond, he does the little stuff that nobody really kind of notices, and it's like, well, that adds value to Golden State. Now, is he the most valuable? Again, like you said, it's so objective. You could make an argument. Well, yeah, he's the most valuable, and then like you said, if we're just basing it off of points, like a scoring stats, no, it's Steph, hands down. So it does. It depends. Or and this is going to sound crazy, and I'll just ask it for giggles. Do you think they should almost just give it to like a team effort? So say like Boston's defense, because it's like if you can hold out just long enough to stop Steph from making it and stop Steph, your defense was the MVP in that game. Offensively you weren't great, but defensively y'all held your own.
Yeah, I think they. I don't think that should be the most valuable award. I think there should be an award for that.
Right.
That would be, what I'm saying, like, I think that would definitely be more of like an incentive for sure. But there is always a most valuable player in the playoffs. Like I said, there's always somebody that has been able to stand out over the course of how many ever games the finals go. So I think that we got to put it in the perspective of, like I said, we just have to make a more. We have to make a more definitive criteria. Like, okay, so when we say most valuable, we mean this player affected the game this way, they did this. Like, we have to have boxes to check off, basically, I feel like, as it pertains to most value, because the value is it's such a wide range that you can go with when you say value. But I definitely think that there should be a most valuable player award, because there's always a player or players, because I mean, it could even be a co-award too sometimes. There's always a player or players that are above, that rise their level of play. You know what I'm saying, during that time. So it's just kind of like the Hall of Fame and like the Hall of Fame and the All-Star game and MVP voting and stuff like that. Like, we got to start having more serious conversations and giving more clear-cut definitions of what it means to be the most valuable player for a season, and what it means to be, an all-star, and what it means to be in the Hall of Fame. Because right now, I feel like they're just letting anybody in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
So it's just like, if all of these categories that we have, they're all great for the game, but what do they mean? Like, what's the criteria? What's the, is there a list that we're checking off of? What exactly are we looking for when we're putting these players in these categories? You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where I'm at with it. And it's kind of always been. As it pertains to these NBA player awards.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, who do you have winning this game tonight? Because right now the Warriors have basically won the first and the second quarter. We're going into the third. Well, yeah, we've 11:42 left in the third, and it's 51-39 Warriors. In the Bay. Who do you have taking tonight's game?
I got the Warriors tonight, just because they are in the Bay, and Steph played out of his mind, so I feel like they were definitely going to carry some of that momentum to the Bay with them. So I got them winning tonight. I think Boston wins Game 6, and then for all the marbles, Game 7 back at home in the Bay.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Warriors definitely need to win this game tonight if they want to potentially win the series, because. Again, they were able to split in Boston, but again, as teams know, a lot of times it's hard to win on the road, and especially when it matters the most. So for Golden State to really take care of business, I think they have to win tonight, because if you don't and you have to go to Boston, I don't know how well that's going to fare for you, and you'll only be that'll be what. 0-3 in the home games for their series in this finals.
For Boston or for Golden
Oh
State?
no, they'd be 1-2.
Yeah, 1 and
Yeah,
2.
1-2.
Because I think yeah, we 1 and 2.
Yeah, because they won the second game in the Bay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they'd be 1-2, and that
That ain't good.
that don't fare well. Yeah, that
And
don't fare well.
they better hope, honestly, they better hope to close it out in 6 because if it go, I mean, their finals game 7 record ain't all that great, so they better hope
Exactly.
they close it out in Boston. But like I said, I think I see Boston when will eventually we'll take that game 6 in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to a little bit of football, but we're not gonna do NFL. We're gonna do a little bit of college football.
Okay.
So the 4 teams that the Big 12 added to their conference because of Texas and Oklahoma using
Hold on.
leaving is BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. All 4 have decided to join the Big 12. So BYU is an independent. So technically BYU can join the conference really anytime they want because they don't belong to any specific conference yet. However, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF all belong to the AAC, the American Athletic Conference. They agreed to do a buyout to be able to leave the conference early, and now are actually able to set to join in July of 2023, which, I'm kind of excited about this, but it's also interesting because Texas and Oklahoma aren't scheduled to leave the Big 12 until 2025. So
Right.
potentially for 2023 season and the 2024 season, the Big 12 might have 14 teams, which is going to be really, really interesting. How do you potentially see Texas and Oklahoma trying to leave for the SEC even sooner? Or do you think the Big 12 is going to be one of those, it's a 14-team conference for a couple years? And to me, I think we're going to have a lot of really good matchups in that series because you're going to have a lot of Texas matchups. You have Texas versus TCU versus Texas Tech, versus Houston. The whole state of Texas is just going to fight itself.
I think they'll probably stay maybe for like another year or so in the conference just because of what you said, like the competitiveness between those 2 teams and the rest of the teams. And so I think that it'll, I think that in that regard, they'll keep it for just like I said, just to kind of see how it goes for like a year or 2. And then from there, then they'll probably eventually go to the SEC just to kind of split it up a little bit because they don't want to overcrowd the conference. But I think, you know what I'm saying? But what could be interesting too, and maybe a potential thing, I don't know if you've thought about this, but they may stay in that conference and the 2 other teams may leave just to like balance it out. Because if they're competitive against, if they, the 2 teams that are joining the conference, if it gets competitive to like the top team, like a Texas, like a Oklahoma, they may take the lower half of the, that are not really in that top 5 or top 3, whatever, and say, hey, why don't you guys, go to this conference or you go to that conference, and just to kind of split it up, but still have that competitive, that competitive natures with those teams, just depending on how the matchups go, like you said. So,
yeah, I could see that for sure, and I think I honestly I could even see too because Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF paid the AAC early to get out of the conference early. I could potentially even see the Big 12 saying, hey, we'll maybe take a little bit of a pay cut to let you guys leave us early. But at the same time, I could also see them saying no just because of how big Texas and Oklahoma are. You have, of course, the Red River Showdown every year. That's always big. So it'll be interesting, and it'll be even more interesting because out of all of the conferences for the Big 12 to go up to 14 teams, even if it's only for like a year or 2, is going to be crazy because nobody expected that to even happen.
Right.
but I am excited for the competition. I'm excited because we saw Cincinnati be able to go to the playoffs,
Mhm.
and it was really a chance of, okay, this is not a true Power 5 school that got in. Of course, they got whooped by Bama, which we all pretty much figured that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm also a big proprietor of iron sharpens iron. So this is going to give a chance for the Cincinnatis to compete, potentially with the big dogs in a Power 5 school.
Mhm.
Also really excited for it on other sports aspects as far as like college
Yeah.
basketball, because
Yeah, for sure. For
I
sure.
watched Houston last year in college
And that
basketball.
man,
Wow.
they were good. They were
And
good.
honestly, who I'm kind of upset they won't face as much?
Who?
Memphis, because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Houston versus Memphis game was wow. Like
The
wow.
the energy alone, like I love games like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like where the energy is just through the roof, like it's just rock. Like that's a goal of mine this year. Like we're just to go to a bunch of with my, credentials and stuff, like just to go to a bunch of college games because the energy is just different. Like there's just a different kind of style of play. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think that I like that college basketball is starting to get some balance to it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's not just the same people going, like that was always like a big thing with women's basketball, especially like women's college basketball, is that it's the same team winning every year. But now it's competitive across the board. Like you've got so many players going so many different ways, and with the transfer portal and stuff like that, like it's just competitive. And I think it's gonna be interesting. That's like I said, that's another reason why I think that they're gonna keep it 14 teams for at least a year or two, just to see how the competition levels. You know what I'm saying? Like just to kind of feel around with that and see how it works, and then they'll probably make some decisions from there. But I'm on the college basketball side. I'm super excited to see how that's gonna go.
I got you. Yeah, I'm also one of those. So I was kind of out of college basketball there for a few years just because I wasn't really able to keep up with it like I wanted to. And
understandable. I had the same problem too. I'm just now starting to kind of get reacclimated.
And then it was like I watched it this year, and it was like I watched how aggressive teams were now about going towards the basket. It was like, I remember, 10, 12 years ago, it's like you watch a college basketball game, and it was kind of like the NBA. It's like, okay, we're going to take our time. We're going to get everybody set up. We're going to do what we got to do. And now it's just like, just go. Just everybody go, attack the rim, swarm the ball, get it in there, and basically get back on defense, get ready to go, grab the ball, do it again. I'm like, whoa, there's like no melody to this. There's nothing methodic about this. It's just people are going. And I'm not upset about it. I was just like, I've not seen this in like 10 years, see teams be this aggressive. And I think that's what I enjoyed most about that Houston versus Memphis matchup is they were just at each other the entire game. And again, that is the kind of crappy part about the smaller conferences is you miss quality games like that. Like you said, the energy that was probably in that building watching that, whew, like people. I don't know if people have ever understood like that energy whenever you're at a stadium and you can just feel everybody getting pumped up and hype. You just feel it. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go. So yeah, I'm excited for it. Like I said, I'm excited for other sports. Like you said, with women's basketball, especially in college, as it'll pick up, and hopefully that'll correlate over to the women's NBA as well.
Yes.
And of course, softball. You've got baseball, even so.
All that, yeah, for sure. It's gonna be an exciting time. I can't wait. For everything to rev back up as far as college football, college basketball, NFL, like all that stuff. Like when everything's going on at once, like. That's the best time of the year, so I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. Plus, I'm excited because I'm gonna get to go to school in the fall. I'm gonna get to
shout out to you. Shout out to you. Big salutes to you.
Exactly. I'm be repping them Spartans. I'm gonna be repping Michigan
That's right.
State.
Michigan State, Midwest boy.
Exactly. I mean, I had a choice. I could do them. I could do Indiana, or I could do LSU.
Yeah.
It was like.
So, where are you located? Are you still in? I'm not. Were you in Indiana or Indianapolis?
I am currently. Yeah, I'm back in Indiana.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah,
I was to make sure I thought.
I was Ohio there for last 3 years.
Okay.
But But yeah, I wanted to do LSU, but I was like, man, the only time I think I would enjoy being down at LSU is if I could be there for the football, because man, that would just be a blast to be down the
Mm.
bayou.
That's my
Ooh.
favorite football college team. I gotta get to a game. I haven't gone to a game yet. I need to make that a priority for sure.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. LSU was probably my favorite. It was a hard thing to be like, nah, I'm not gonna go to LSU. I wanted to go to them out of high school. I was looking at the statistics, and I was looking
Mhm.
at from just like a neutral college site, and they're like, well, more people tend to graduate from Michigan State. You got this, you got this. Now I will say the tuition to go to LSU super cheap. Like I can't deny that at all. But it
That's
was like,
what's up. Yeah.
but I was like, man, as much as I grew up here in Indiana and all these Alabama fans just left and right, it was like, oof, I need the Tigers. I'm really upset that I miss Coach O too. Like, if I could go in person, man, I'd go down there
Man.
and Coach O and be like, Coach O, just say it once. I just want to hear go
Please.
Tigers. That's all I want to hear is
Please.
go Tigers.
No, for sure. Yeah, I gotta make it to an LSU game, man, for sure. I've gone to quite a few college football games, and I just miss the environment, just the vibe of it. Like it's euphoric. Like it's something that if you've never experienced it, I can't really describe it to you. Like it's something you have to go and experience it for yourself. Like I'm talking about from when you wake up early in the morning to the pregame to the to the tailgate in the parking lot
Mhm.
to get into the actual game and then meeting some people that you don't even know like, and
I,
being
I
friends with them.
I think there's probably three games I would want to go to if I ever get the opportunity. I'm gonna do my best to go. I want to go to a Michigan versus Ohio State. I don't really care where it's
Okay.
at. I want to
Yeah.
go because
Yeah.
that's and you gotta
Yeah.
remember being in the Midwest. I see a lot of Big Ten more than I see
Oh,
the
for
SEC.
sure. For sure.
So
Yeah.
there I'd want to see Michigan versus Michigan State because that's
Mhm.
always electric. And then
Always. Yeah.
I want to see LSU versus Alabama. Like those. You can't get no better.
Ooh.
You can't get no better.
Listen. I would want to see LSU versus Alabama in LSU.
Yep.
I would want to see Atlanta versus or Georgia versus Bama.
Yes.
And then I think I would want to see what's the other one?
I say I know.
Florida State and Miami.
Oh, okay. You got
Yeah, Florida State and
four
Miami.
matchups.
Yeah.
I was gonna throw a fourth one out there because
Mm.
I've seen it a few times and it's they're always good games. It was even a good game last year for as kind of also as bad as it was.
Uh-huh.
I want to see the Iron Bowl. I want to see Auburn versus Bama. That is always a
Mm.
great matchup. I'm like,
Mhm.
ooh, and it doesn't matter how bad Auburn is, no matter
Neither
how
one of the
good
teams, but
Bama
it's
is.
always man. Yeah, man.
Exactly.
It's always good football every time they play against. That's crazy how that happens. Like how a team could be so crappy against other teams, but against their rival, it's like, no, we're gonna get up and play today. Like
That's why I couldn't give Alabama any respect like last year. It was like no. Y'all almost lost to a broken second string backup Auburn quarterback, and y'all still had to take it to like 3 overtimes to win
Mhm.
that game. I'm like, no,
Didn't
I
they?
can't.
Didn't they? They played in a championship game against Georgia this year, right? Last year, right?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, that's what because I know Georgia won, but I was trying to remember it. I'm making sure it was. I'm like I'm pretty sure it was Alabama, but I had to remind
Yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Yeah, so now I'm like I said, I'm definitely trying to make it a point to go to a lot of sporting events this year. That's the goal. So hopefully with this credential stuff, I can kind of figure out the loopholes and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so.
But yeah, I'm excited. That's my hope. That's my hope, especially now that I got a lot of freedom. I can go wherever the heck I want to now, as long as I just tell work.
Mhm.
Heck, I can even tell the work if I need to. But now
Mhm.
this has been great, Sensei. I know for everybody we're kind of cutting it a little bit short. But it's just Sensei and I. We got to focus on the finals still. There's a little bit happening in the sports world, but it's still a little
Not a
bit.
whole
We're
lot. Yeah,
starting,
it's kind of
we're,
slow right now. Yeah.
we're starting to kind of come on the tail end. Everybody's kind of going in the off season, unless you love golf. And I don't know about y'all.
Yeah. Well, you got to miss me on that one. I don't
Yeah,
know too much about
I ain't gonna lie.
that.
Like, I'll watch golf with you. I'm gonna probably fall asleep like 10 minutes in. No disrespect to golf. I know there are people love their golf. I can't. Personally, I just can't. If you do, shout out to you. You better than I am.
Yes, for sure.
But Sensei, appreciate always being on with you. You are fantastic, ma'am. Again,
Thank
if
you.
anybody, if y'all love Sensei, please check her out on the Sports Senseis. They have an episode coming on tomorrow. Or y'all,
Indeed. Yep.
okay, tomorrow night. You can also catch her on Beyond the Rim as they talk about all the
Wednesdays.
WNBA on Wednesdays.
Right.
Of course, you can always catch us every Monday through Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Pacific. And you can always catch me on Wednesdays on Jawing and Balling at 8 p.m. Eastern. And other than that, we hope y'all all have a good night. Enjoy the rest of the finals, and we will see y'all tomorrow. Peace.
All right. We out this thing. Peace.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.